So let's see. Where am I here? Okay, share whiteboard. Okay, so you guys can see the whiteboard now? Yes?
Yeah, I
Okay.
see that. I see what,
Yes.
I see what
Now let's see if I can do this. Okay, can anyone tell me, see the problem is I've got this little tiny cursor, but I'm gonna try it. Can anyone tell me, some or all of you have probably encountered something called the DuPont formula before? Oh, I can do text. All right, does anyone know what the DuPont formula is?
It's an equity thing, isn't it?
Okay, so let's see if I do text. How's that going to work? No, we're gonna forget text. Go back to draw. Okay, let's do draw. Okay, so here's the DuPont formula. Oh, wait, DuPont. Let me go out of this and come back into it because I don't know how to reset it. Okay, oh shit. Did I lose my share screen? Whiteboard, share. Okay. Okay, so here's the DuPont formula. So it's net income over sales. Sales over total assets. Y'all can see me drawing the whiteboard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And total assets over equity. And then we put times symbols here. And what does that equal? Anyone know?
Well, you have to cross out like the S's and then the TA, so that's net income over equity or earnings, and that would be net income over earnings. That's retained earnings or ROE, return on equity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so and you can see that because if you cancel out the S's and you cancel out the total assets, then you have what you're left with is net income over equity. All right, so that gives you return on equity. Okay, now so what is net income over sales?
Ratio sale, profitability or
Profit what?
profitability, current profitability.
Yeah, but what's it? It has a more common term.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Sales, total sales.
Profit margin.
Profit margin. Never mind. I remember that.
Now we've seen sales over total assets. We saw it earlier. What is that?
Oh, that was total asset turnover.
Yeah, asset turnover. And then total assets over equity. What is that?
So that's equity ratio. Right?
Yeah, but it's reflecting something.
Like debt.
Yeah, it's debt. It's showing you how much leverage you have.
Debt ratio, right? Debt ratio. I forgot what that was called. I'm trying to remember my
Well,
ratios.
it's they would just call this total assets to equity ratio, but it's really kind of a backwards way of looking at leverage. Okay. And so so let me ask you this question. It's called the DuPont formula. Who came up with this formula? Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. Who is buried in Grant's tomb?
Whose tomb?
Huh?
Whose tomb? Who's buried in?
Who's buried in Grant's tomb?
Well, I hope it's Grant.
That's right. So who came up with the DuPont formula?
Ulysses S. Grant?
No.
Grant DuPont?
No.
Oh, Grant.
The DuPont Corporation.
Never mind.
Okay, because the DuPont Corporation was making a lot of acquisitions of companies. This goes way, 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 way back when this was developed, but it was developed in the DuPont Corporation. They hired some, academics, and they said, we're making all kinds of companies. We want to have a good way of analyzing these companies. So one of the things they came up with was this DuPont formula. And what's nice about it is that you can look at every company. You can take return on equity, which many, many people consider to be the real holy grail, if you will, of ratio analysis. If you had to pick like one ratio, and Warren Buffett's, if Warren Buffett had to pick one ratio, he would tell you that it's return on equity. And it's certainly a very important one. So, and many people believe that. So these people at these academics at DuPont said, okay, well let's work with return on equity. And so what they did is they broke the ratio out. So they broke it out into profit margin and asset turnover and leverage. And so that you could look at each one of these components and look at how each one of these was doing over time. So has profit margin been increasing over time? Has asset turnover been increasing over time? And also compare it against other companies within the industry and sectors and so forth. So how does this company that they're going to acquire, how does its profit margin compare with XYZ company, and so forth and so on, right? So it's just, it's a useful analytical tool, but it gets back to my point earlier about, how many ratios do you need? I mean, there's hundreds of ratios that people have come up with. And in a regular accounting class, you're gonna probably encounter hundreds, but you don't need that many really to be a good analyst. Okay, you only need like the DuPont formula, you need the Z-score, maybe the Petrosky F-score. And by the way, you can find. Here, let me show you this, and then I promise you we'll take a break. If you go to I'm sorry, I'm looking at my screen here. Oh, you guys don't. Okay, I need to go back to my screen share. Oh, let's see. Okay. So let's see. New share. Screen share. I don't know if there's a way to share. Can you guys see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a way to do, have two windows. I'll have to play with that. See if I can have a screen share and a whiteboard share, but for tonight we won't worry about that. Oh yeah, so let's go back to Stock Investor Pro. So you might recall from some of your accounting classes, where am I here? Oh yeah, so we're on the ratios. Yeah, we're on the ratios tab. See here, ratios for Walmart. Well, in your accounting class, you probably broke ratios down into these major categories. Profitability, see up here the major category of profitability, and then liquidity, and then debt management and asset management, and then we have the financial strength. Well, by the way, on the Altman Z-score, it's the same major categories, right? You talked about profitability, liquidity, debt management, and asset management, asset turnover. And so within these, so with the Altman Z-score, we had 5 ratios, one representing each one of these categories. I'm sorry, one representing each of 3, and then 2 ratios representing the 4th one. But if you want to get a little bit fancier, you want to use a few more ratios, then you would you go to profitability and look at these pretty standard profitability ratios. You can go to liquidity, and everyone knows from their accounting classes that there's a quick ratio and a current ratio and so forth. And then debt management, you can look at debt in different ways. So again, back to the point, you don't need an awful lot of ratios. You don't need hundreds. You can probably get away with as little as less than 10, and somewhere probably between 10 and 30. And if you do more than 30, what's the word? And I can use this word because I am this way, by the way. You are probably obsessive compulsive. or anal retentive or something. I have been OCD most of my life. I've fortunately been able to reduce my OCD tendencies, so I can make that statement. Because there was a time in my life, much earlier in my career, where I would have used hundreds of ratios. But as I've gotten a little bit older and grown out of my OCD, I've realized that I can do a much better job, frankly, with only somewhere between 10 and 30 ratios. All right, before we take a quick break, any questions? Okay, and I'm just looking at the time. I'm looking at the time here. Let's, boy, oh boy. We're not gonna have time to break into groups again tonight. That's okay, we'll do it next week. And I'm gonna have you guys look at two groups, two chapters next week for groups. So let's take a 10-minute break. And we'll come back and we'll talk about a couple other things for 10 minutes. And then I'm gonna show you another video. So come back at 8:47, and yeah, and then that'll give us about 10 minutes to cover a couple of things before we watch our video for the night. Okay?